UFC Vegas 99 is this Saturday, and I'm going to be breaking down every single fight on this card, starting at the bottom, working my way to the top as always. So let me know in the comments what bets you guys already have locked in, who your favorite underdog on the entire card is, and what your lock parlay on this entire card is. Leave a like, leave a comment, click subscribe, turn those post notifications on. We just finished up tonight the last week of Contender Series for the year. We finished the season 9-1, only one event out of the 10 did we lose money, and it was less than a unit on that night. So I'm going to miss Contender Series. Can't wait for it to start up next year, and I appreciate all the love. There was so much Contender Series love this year, so I really appreciate you guys. Let's keep it going, and we do have Wager Wars Thursday night, so if you don't catch it live, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, make sure you go to the live tab after. Turn those post notifications on so you don't miss it. I'm going to have two of your favorite handicappers in the community on, as always, Thursday night, so make sure you check that live. Let's get into it, man. First fight on the card, we got Robelis Despaigne taking on Austin Lane. Despaigne, I tried to fade him in his debut against Parisian. That one didn't work out, but we finally got the fade in his last fight against Waldo. I bet Waldo as a big underdog, and he got it done. Waldo actually, not a guy I'm super high on, but I was looking to fade Despaigne. I did not believe in the hype, and it looks like they're bringing in a kind of a bounce back fight here in Austin Lane. Austin Lane, I actually tried to do a similar thing against Jonathan Diniz, and I bet Lane is a big underdog. And in that first round, it was looking good. I was looking like a genius, and then he slowed down, wasn't able to get him down, and got knocked out. Diniz is dangerous. Had a decent performance in his last one, even though it was kind of a weird fight. So, maybe Austin Lane can play the spoiler in this fight. It's kind of a similar matchup. And he's rightfully so, a decent underdog, or a big underdog. You guys know, am I looking I've never been big on Despaigne. Am I ever looking to bet 4-1 on a green heavyweight with Taekwondo guy with no ground game? Couldn't get up off his back when he had a boxer on top of him. Of course not, but I do think he probably knocks Lane out with something at some point. He is a dangerous dude on the feet. Super explosive. Just huge for the division. I mean, Austin Lane is an athletic freak too. Obviously coming from a football background. He's coming over here. Big dude himself. He probably can get Despaigne down at some point. I just don't think he submits him. I don't think he finishes him. And I don't think, I can't really bank on him to bank 2 rounds. So, it would have to be dog or pass if I was going to bet this fight because, if plus 360 I see right now on Austin Lane, I really don't hate that. Anytime it's a low-level heavyweight fight, you can do a lot worse. But overall, I think Despaigne gets him out of there. Probably a round 1 knockout, honestly. So we will move on to a fight I unfortunately do have some money on. I have to admit, we got Alice Ardelean taking on Melissa Martinez. I actually bet Martinez's brother only a couple weeks ago, speaking of Contender Series. Cashed that bet. She's going to be taking on Alice Ardelean, a TikTok star. Got a decent following on Instagram as well. She does like a comedy thing. Everybody says, oh, OnlyFans girl. She leans into her sex appeal a little bit, but at the same time, it's nothing over the top, and she actually is kind of funny. It might not be your humor, but I can see why people like it. Good at making little viral clips, but more importantly in this fight, she just opened up at like minus or plus 150. It is being bet down, and a spoiler alert, I bet her as an underdog plus 130. I just think in this fight, man, I haven't been super impressed by Melissa. Was out there getting taken down by Elise Reed, somebody we're going to be talking about later, who, decent enough boxing, decent enough striking, but shouldn't be taking you down, shouldn't be controlling you. Knocked her down too. And then, how long ago was that? That was 2 years ago. And then before that, it was another 2 years, almost 3 years. So it's like, 2 fights in 5 years. Never great, especially only one of those being in the UFC. I'm sure she's making improvement. She's only 27. But, I just think, betting her at minus 155 would be crazy, man. Going off what we've seen, what is she really good at? I mean, I don't think Ardelean is a world beater, but I think she might have a bit of a strength advantage. She might be able to get a takedown here on Melissa, who she could take Shauna Bannon down. I think she could take Melissa Martinez down. And, if she can, she got some weight on them hips in a good way. She could probably just be the stronger girl, controller, put her up against the cage, big sister, her a little bit. The striking is going to be semi-competitive. I don't think either are world beaters on the feet. I like the plus money on Alice here. I get she's got a 9-6 record. I get that, her wins are against low-level competition, but, I really do think that she should be maybe a slight favorite here. So, give me Alice Ardelean as the underdog, plus 130, and I did bet that. We move on to another. We actually have 3 women's fights in a row. With the next one up, we got Jessica Penne, a veteran, taking on Elise Reed, somebody we were just speaking about. Elise Reed was able to get a win over Jinh Frey, a win over Melissa Martinez. She did lose. These losses aren't the worst. Sam Hughes, not great. Luke Boume, tiny girl, which is pretty skilled. Lupita Godinez, pretty, not the worst. Speaking of which, Penne actually got a split over Godinez. Some people didn't agree with that. Did submit Carolina Kay, and then has some tough losses. Like, these aren't, Danielle Taylor isn't the worst, isn't the best loss, but, I can give her a pass for these last 2. Is 41 years old, 41 and a half, so you're going to hear that a lot, Reed does crack. She could crack 41-year-old Penne and hurt her. But I honestly think this fight goes 15. And yeah, I do think Reed is going to be, have a speed advantage, a power advantage. She's a better striker. But I think Penne, not only is it a step down, is it a step up for Reed as she fought the much better competition. But I think she's got a wrestling advantage here, man. I think even at 41 years old, she could definitely take Reed down and win a round or 2 that way. And then, maybe she could find a submission too. I don't think Reed's the best grappler. I don't think she's the best wrestler. I think this is a pretty 50-50 fight, man. I guess gun to my head, I've been really 50-50 on this fight. I've gone back and forth with this one, and there's another fight on this card that is really driving me nuts. But overall, I guess I'll slightly lean Elise Reed, like 51%, which tells me, it's dog or pass. I don't know if I'll get around to the Jessica Penne side. I don't know, man. 41... Reed could crack her, should have some striking advantages here, but I would not be surprised if Penne was able to give her a vet lesson, go out here, get a couple takedowns, get some control time. If she can't find the submission, just win some minutes. So I bet I actually parlayed the over. It's minus 240. Not that crazy. I get it because Penne's been finished like 4 times. Reed's been finished a couple times herself. But I actually think that, Penne could get the rear naked choke. Maybe Reed could clip her. But I feel like this fight goes 15. So I'm going to take at least Reed to win by decision. But it really could go either way. I'm going to just take this fight. I wouldn't hate a fight goes split either. See what the odds are on that. Maybe that could be interesting. But for me, I'm just going to parlay the over. Or the fight goes the distance. Minus 240 was something we'll talk about in a bit. We move on. Jocelyn Edwards taking on Tamiris Vidal. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet, honestly, because the pick is Jocelyn Edwards. I'm just not high on Vidal at all, but I wouldn't bet Jocelyn Edwards just off what we've seen at minus 200 against really anybody. She just cannot be trusted at that price. I do think she's a bigger, stronger girl. I don't like what I've seen from Vidal. She quit from that. She was the one who was holding her chest at the end, and it kind of went viral. It is what it is. I obviously don't know what that's like, and I actually think Gato is pretty legit, but, the Rendon fight was disgusting. Jocelyn, where she has some tough losses, I actually think Cornoli's not bad. Eileen Perez is actually looking good. She probably didn't win this Pudilova fight, to be fair. So, you just can't bet her at that chalk price. I just think Vidal, you can't trust her wrestling. If she gets on top of Edwards, she could make something happen. But I actually think Edwards is working on that grappling, working on that wrestling, and could probably just piece her up to a decision. So, give me Jocelyn Edwards by decision. I will not be betting any money on this fight. That just is straight up pass for me. Moving on, we got Brad Katona taking on Jean Matsumoto. Matsumoto coming off that submission win over Dan Argueta, who we just saw. And this is kind of a similar matchup, honestly. I think Argueta's probably the more powerful, dynamic wrestler over Brad Katona, but Brad Katona, better gas tank. Never been finished, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure all 3 of his losses are by decision. Yeah. Durable guy. Typically can avoid the submissions. A little bit harder, he doesn't make as many mistakes as somebody like Argueta. The problem is, with him is he's just not dangerous, man. He's just not a finisher. Whereas Matsumoto, he can clip you, he can knock you out, he can find the submission, he could also win a decision. Katona's just like, he's kind of decision or bust, man. He's not a big finisher. Sorry, I've been doing some drinking tonight for the live fight companion for Contender Series. So the hiccups, the shot, Anyways, we move on. Brad Katona, like, he can make things dicey, he can make them close, but he kind of fights the level of competition. That Armfield fight was driving me nuts, man. I honestly thought he edged it, but it was close, and I had money on him, so I'm biased. But in this fight, it's just a much more dangerous guy. Guy with the much more finish upside is Matsumoto. It's tough to want to, like, Brad Katona just gets into these split decision fights every time. And if you're going to tell me there's a finish, it's probably Matsumoto. Like, he could clip him, he could lynch, snatch up the neck. So the pick is going to be Matsumoto, but honestly, like, Katona, these are the type of odds where you start to, like, I think, when he fights the level competition, he fights to go to 15, it's going to go to decision. You don't really want to lay the chalk, but when you're getting 2-1, he probably can take Matsumoto down. So it's just like, can he keep doing that? Can he get on top? Can he do enough damage like he did in his last fight to score? Or is it going to be a close split? And then at least you got the guy who's trying to hurt you, trying to do damage. Even though we've been seeing these stallers been winning lately, dear God, don't even get me started. So the way it's been going lately, we'll probably see Katona just hold him up against the cage for, a round and a half and win the fight. But we'll see. I think this fight could be close, man. I think Katona is somebody at these prices. He could make things interesting. I wouldn't really be trying to parlay Jean Matsumoto minus 250. Maybe you could look at like a sub price or something like that. Sub round 2 or 3. But I think the pick is Matsumoto by decision. And I will just move on for now. But I'll be taking a little bit of a look at a Katona, maybe Katona decision or something. But we move on to another fight that I do think there could be a live dog here. We got Nicolau taking on Almabayev. And this is the other fight, like the Reed fight that I talked about, has really been kind of... I've been struggling with this fight because, on one hand, you got Asu, 20-2, hasn't fought the highest level competition, but he's been doing what he should do to most of them. In his last fight, he took on the giant himself, Jose Johnson, even though, probably probably just too big, needs to move up. But, beat Ode Osborne, okay, is what it is. Vergara, okay, he's beating the lower level guys in the division, but this is a step up, and this is a step down for Nicolau. I mean, at least in theory, on paper, because, Nicolau's been fighting like the absolute killers of the division, man. Obviously coming off 2 tough losses, and the thing about him is all 4 of his losses are by TKO. So you got to start to think not only is the striking defense a problem, but maybe even at least at this point the durability. Royval, that was a nasty knee. Perez, I was on Perez there. I had a big bet on Perez, like a 3-unit play, which I don't do that often. But I didn't think he was going to knock him out with really the first shot he landed. That was hard. But, beat Machinel, beat Dvorak, beat Tim Elliott. That's a good win. The Cop win was super close. I was on him there, so, I might be biased, but I thought that fight was pretty close. I know some people thought Cop won, but, he's typically been a really good minute winner, a really good wrestler, good grappler. And in this fight, it's gonna get tested. That grappling's gonna get tested. Almabayev, tough dude, durable dude, typically goes out there, gets the takedowns, look for the submissions. It's going to be interesting to see if he can do that to a guy like Nicolau, because that obviously has not been the path to beating him yet. It's always been just bonk him, find him and clip him on the chin, man. I don't think Asu's the biggest power puncher, Maybe if Nicolau's durability is really just that shot, or, it's not just the durability, like he's just a little gun shy from the knockouts or whatever it may be, maybe Almabayev can knock him out anyways. I don't think that's really like his... I know that it's not really what he does best. So if he can't knock Nicolau out, this fight could get interesting, because Nicolau probably is the naturally bigger guy, even though Almabayev is absolutely jacked to the tits. Frame-wise, he's the smaller man. Nicolau's strong, too. Good wrestler. Almabayev's probably the overall better grappler, but I could see Nicolau making this interesting. And I could see, the striking being pretty close, and if his durability can hold up, could get interesting here. So wouldn't be looking to parlay almost 2-1 Almabayev. I need to see more from him. I mean, let's just be real at the end of the day. He's done what he should do, but Odie Osborne, CJ Vergara, and Jose Johnson, it's a big gap between them and Matus Nicolau. Say what you will about his chin and his durability, it's a big gap. So the pick will be Almabayev for now, but I wouldn't be parlaying that, man. I'm going to be, again, taking a look. He's one of the dogs that does interest me on this card. But, man, honestly, back-to-back-to-back in these fights. Getting to the main card, we got Darren Elkins taking on Daniel Pineda. Speaking of dogs that are sticking out to me, man, I don't want to spoil it, but in this fight, we got two older guys, and I will say Pineda in his last performance, was a loss, but it was Nathaniel Wood, and he did make it interesting. He did have his moments, but I will say Nathaniel Wood for the division, he's just small, man. He's just small for the division. He's honestly like a tweener, or even just a bantamweight that needs to just change some things and make it happen because he's just really not a featherweight. And Darren Elkins, he's a pretty big dude. Honestly, he's not like he's not the biggest featherweight going, but him and Pineda are just much bigger. And I do think some of these exchanges that Pineda was, able to have some good scrambles against a guy like Nathaniel Wood, whereas Nathaniel Wood is a good grappler. I just think he's just kind of outsized and outstrengthened the division. And I don't think Pineda's going to get away with some of that against Elkins, who is a dog, does have good wrestling. And yeah, he's 40, but, let's not forget, Pineda's 39, and shit, he actually has more fights. He might have honestly taken more damage than the damage. Now, that's a debate for another day, but, both guys are kind of, they're up there, not only in age, but in, damage and stuff like that, no pun intended, but, I think Darren's the better wrestler. I do think Pineda's got a striking advantage, so they're both going to have some advantages, depending on where they're at. So I get why some people would be on Pineda because, Elkins, the fight start on the feet, and, he's got to get it to the ground, where on the feet, in theory, you would think Pineda is just going to have a little bit of a speed, a little bit of a power advantage, which I would agree with all that. But I just feel like Darren Elkins, man, he's a dog. I feel like he's just got a little bit more, he's 40, but I feel like, man, when it gets to those, as long as he doesn't get finished in that first round, if he can just make it out of that first, I think he's really going to take over, man. He's got that dog in him. That dog's still there, man. And I just don't know if Pineda's got it to the same level at this point of his career. So I'm on Darren Elkins, man. I bet him at plus 110. I've thought about waiting because I have a feeling, people might bet Pineda late, but I don't know. I started to see it starting to come down on a lot of books, so I just wanted to get out ahead. So plus 110 on Bet Online. I think you can get plus 105 still on DraftKings or FanDuel or something. But yeah, that's the pick. I'm going with the underdog on this one. Probably my favorite underdog on the card, but there's a couple dogs that I know are live. Moving on, we got Brady Hiestand taking on Jake Hadley. Yeah, man, this is a good fight. Jake Hadley's been impressive since moving up. I do think he's a little small for the division, but the Charles Johnson losses aged pretty well. Cody Durden, I can't really give him too much crap for either of those losses. And but the wins at the same time, not great. Callan Loughran, he was a big underdog there, but I honestly think, I don't know how much of that is him did a great job and how much of it is Loughran, kind of dropped the ball. Did also miss weight, should be noted, after coming up in weight. So, at least let me just double check. I think he missed weight, right? Yeah, 137. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So I was making sure I wasn't tripping there. I didn't want to scold him for if I'm not in the right. But Brady Hiestand's been on a good run, man. That split to Ricky. I mean, I honestly thought he won the fight. Took him down I don't remember, just 8 times or something. Didn't do a ton of damage. It is what it is, but I think he's gotten better. I mean, I will say Fernie Garcia, Banat Garel, Dana, Bat Garel, and the Garrett Armfield one was by far the most impressive. I think he's best win he's got. And so I get Jake Hadley, these losses have aged good. He's looked better since coming up, but I do feel like, both these guys are kind of grapplers. Jake Hadley has worked, on the striking, but he's kind of a jiu-jitsu guy. And I think Brady's got good jiu-jitsu, but he's got the better wrestling. I just think he could put Jake on his back. He's going to have a size, strength, wrestling advantage. And I don't think the striking's, maybe Jake's got a little bit quicker hands. Brady can be a little hittable, but I don't think Jake's got like enough power to make me worry about it too much, because I think Brady can get the takedowns, man. I think he could put Jake on his back. Jake's going to play guard a little too much, go for submissions. And I think Brady can avoid the submissions, stay safe, get on top, ground and pound. Maybe he gets the back, finds a rear naked choke, but I honestly think he wins the fight by decision. I'm going to take Brady Hiestand. I haven't bet him yet because that line's only actually surprisingly going in my direction. I see it at minus 130 right now, and I'm just going to sit back and wait because that's the best the line's been at all. Bet online right now, minus 130. So I'm just going to wait and see what I can get on that, but I will be betting Brady Hiestand on the money line. We move on. Sue Mudarji taking on Charles Johnson. Man, I've been really high on Charles Johnson since he came to the UFC. At first, I remember being like during one of the, after like maybe the Durden loss, I'm like, hey, man, I was wrong. Like, I was wrong. I thought this kid was going to be better. I picked him over Odie Osborne. That was a close fight. I did pick Durden, but then I picked him over Rafael Estevan. He had his moments, honestly. That was not a bad performance. He had his moments against really in all these losses. Johnson, good cardio, used to run track. He seems highly motivated. Like, he didn't let the losses knock him. Like, dude's still, like, really active, like, posting, not like in a toxic way, but like, he likes to put his thoughts out there and his goals out there, and you could tell this dude's not just collecting a check, man. He's coming here to win. He's 33 years old. He wants to make some money for his family. He wants to be ranked. He wants to move up the rankings. I mean, he even talks about getting the belt. Do I think the belt, that might be a little far, but hey, I don't like to doubt another man. I do think Charles Johnson's good. He's coming off a great win. I don't know why people are saying, oh, he wasn't up on the cards. I had him up on the cards, but then again, I was biased. I had him bet as a big underdog. But I will say, man, Sue Mudarji is a sniper. He's a dangerous dude. I did fade him in his last fight against Tim Elliott. And I had Matt Schnell. Oh my God. I had Matt Schnell by submission because that's how Sue Mudarji loses all his fights, and that's how we knew Schnell was going to have to win. But I will say, my God, it was looking like an awful bet. I had his money line and his submission. So I've cashed 3 bets in the last 2 Sue Mudarji fights, including that insane. Honestly, I that Schnell sub and his money line, that double hitter, that was up there with, like, that had to have been like top 3, at least top 5 most fun cashes. Because I'm literally sitting there. I remember I was laying in bed with my ex fiance, watching the fight, like low volume while she's like watching some show on Netflix, and I just freaked out because he's getting destroyed on the feet. I mean, honestly, there was an argument to stop that fight, like a mercy stoppage, and then just somehow finds the way to put Mudarji out with the choke. I needed a drink so bad. Yeah, Schnell's a dog for that. He's earned my respect for life for that. But Mudarji, that's always been the kryptonite, the grappling. And I honestly think Charles Johnson could wrestle this guy if he wanted to. I don't know if he really will. He obviously wants to strike more so himself, but I think Charles Johnson will have a wrestling advantage here. I think he really could take Mudarji down, maybe if he gets rocked or if he gets hit by some, or if he just wants to mix it up if he sees the opening. I'd really like to see that from Charles Johnson, Like, I get he likes to entertain, he likes to put on fun fights, but, he also talking about getting ranked, getting top 10, fighting for the belt. Like, let's see that fight IQ then, man. You're fighting a guy who has no grappling, with all due respect. Mix in a couple takedowns, man. Show us more of your game. Because I honestly think Charles Johnson's a pretty solid grappler. And just for the fact of, Mudarji slows down and you take over as the fight goes on. So even if, like, the wrestling is competitive or the grappling is competitive and you're just making him work, that's only going to help you out. So really want to see Charles Johnson mix it up a little bit, man. Chop the legs, mix the takedowns, give him stuff to think about. He'll win the minutes. I'm very confident in Charles Johnson on this card, especially given the odds. He was my favorite. If you're a parlay guy, I'm really not, but I had to make a parlay because I really do think that Mudarji. I just think this is a tough matchup for him, man. I think he's gonna drop a third in a row. he's only 28. Maybe he can, come back, get a couple in the regional scene, come back in like a couple of years. But I think Charles Johnson gets it done. Mix in a couple takedowns, outstrikes him with the hands, mix in some of those leg kicks, stays safe out of the sniper shots coming back from Medarji. Give me Charles Johnson by decision. I would not rule out a finish, though. I would not rule out a finish. So I wouldn't bet that by decision. I would parlay Johnson if you're on the same side as me. Oh, that is the second leg of my Reed versus Penne goes to decision. Minus 210 for CJ. The decision on that women's fight is minus 240. Plus 109 for that. I like it. You give me plus money. I think that cashes. Co-main event time. We got Rob Font taking on Kyler Phillips. We see what the UFC's trying to do here, man. Kyler Phillips is like minus 350 right now. Rob Font, 1-4 in his last 5, but you got to put some context. Jose Aldo, Marlon Vera, had a win over Yanez, beat the crap out of him, finished him, exposed him. I was on Rob Font there on the money line. Thank God I didn't bet him by decision because I did not see it happening like that. But Rob Font did cash there for me. The Davison fight got wrestled. Corey Sandhagen even grappled him up a little bit, a lot of it. And I think Kyler Phillips can do much of the same, man. I honestly, 37 for Rob Font and, 28 fights. He's been fighting the highest level. He's taken some damage. He's always been a durable guy, a guy with good cardio. And I think he still has the cardio, but I got to wonder about the durability these days. I don't think Kyler Phillips is the biggest danger. He's the biggest knockout threat, but, he's young. He's 29. He's coming into his own. Great training camp, great training partners. Only going to be getting better. And I just think it's the opposite for Rob Font. I do got to give him credit for, dude's fought only killers. Dude does not know how to say no to a fight. Respect to him. Absolute G. But I just think Kyler Phillips, man, he can get the takedowns. He's going to be the more durable guy. The only thing that kind of scares me when you're parlaying almost 4-1 Kyler Phillips is Rob Font's got a gas tank on him, man. He if this gets to the third round, we could definitely see Font start to land some shots with the boxing. Kyler Phillips could have a little bit more trouble getting the takedowns. So, dangerous to be parlaying 4-1 on a guy like Rob Font who typically can give you a good 15, give you some good volume, give you, use his durability to at least give you a hard 15 and make it a good fight. And, this is a bit of a step down in comparison to, the guys that Rob Font's typically fighting. I do think Kyler's good. I do think, the only loss was that close fight to Paiva where he just kind of gassed out, tried to finish him, gassed out, and got a win over Barcelos, who hasn't been looking great, but still a good win. Beat Pedro Munoz. He's on the upswing. The UFC's trying to get behind this kid, and I think they know what they're doing here. I think he gets it done, but I don't think he finishes Rob Font, man. Maybe he could. Rob Font, the durability could be going a little bit, but I think he survives 15. I think Kyler mixing the takedowns, lands the better shots. He's always moving around, good footwork, good just bouncing around always. It does kind of slow him down because his style does, sap the energy, but I think he gets the win here. We move on to the main event. We got Michel Pereira taking on my guy, Anthony Hernandez. And I got to say, in Pereira's early on in his career, I faded him against Tristan Connolly as a huge underdog. And my God, that's speaking of fun cashes, that was a fun cash. I really thought I was going to get robbed when it went to the decision. I was just in disbelief that he really just I don't know, man. Dude was doing backflips on the way to the cage and just I will say he's tightened it up since. I've tried to fade him a couple times. I tried to fade him against Nico Price. My God, shout out to that, even though he backflipped on his head and, there was a bunch of sketchiness in that fight, but is what it is. I tried to fade him against Santiago Ponzinibbio, and that was a close fight. Santiago definitely had his moments, started to take over, but a little too late. But I have bet Pereira. I bet him against Olazechuk inside the distance. I bet him against Andre Petrosky inside the distance. I think I had him on a parlay against Potiera, so I've kind of came around to the Michel Pereira side because, you've actually got him at some decent lines considering the run he's on. And, he's a huge guy. He's pretty well-rounded. The cardio has looked like it's improved because he does kind of take a little less risks, a little less crazy all the time, even with just the walkout. But this is a main event, so is he going to get back to his crazy ways? Is he going to try to entertain the crowd before or during the fight? It's 5 rounds. And, he's going against a guy who, on paper, brings a lot of, problems that, people have kind of critiqued him for. First of all, we've seen him slow down. We've seen him get wrestled. Even though it does seem like the wrestling's gotten a lot better, we have seen it, people be able to take him down, especially once he gets tired. And Anthony Hernandez, what does he do good? He wrestles great, and he has great cardio, and he's durable. People have said, oh, he's soft to the body. It has been a while. But yeah, I mean, because he doesn't have the most daunting physique, and he has been hurt to the body. People naturally think, oh, if Pereira kicks him to the body, it's over. I will say Pereira's got nasty kicks to the body, so maybe he can make that happen, and then everybody's gonna be like, told you, bro. But still, that's always live in a Pereira fight. And Hernandez does the way he fights. The fight's gonna start on the feet. So Pereira's a huge guy to take him down. But who else is huge? Adolfo Vieira. And I mean, taking him down, drowning him, submitting him. I mean, pretty impressive. And I will say he doesn't have the striking of Pereira. He's not as quick or as dynamic. But, grappling-wise and, taking him down definitely shows a lot. And, I just feel like 5 rounds really helps Hernandez. If this was 3 rounds, I'd be on Pereira. I can't lie. But, 5 rounds, it's a main event. Pereira's not going to want to have it be a snoozer. And that's only, a little asterisk, reason 10 and below. But I'm just saying, on paper, I just feel like I get if you're getting plus money on a guy like Pereira. He's been making me money lately. And, he has honestly impressed me a lot. He seemed to grow a lot. And round out his game. But I just feel like, man, this is a fight where I think Hernandez is going to snap the hype train, man. I really do. I think, yeah, Pereira definitely could clip him, could finish him, but the minute winner is going to be Hernandez, in my opinion, man. I think he gets the takedowns. I think he can win minutes there, wrestle him, land some decent ground and pound, and I think eventually he gets to the back and finds the choke, man. So I'm going to go Anthony Hernandez. I'm going to go 3rd round submission. Could be 4th. Yeah, I think Hernandez can wear on him. Yeah, I'm actually going to go 4th. 4th round, rear naked choke for Anthony Hernandez. The decision is definitely possible. Maybe Pereira can clip him. I don't have any money on this fight yet because I honestly think the line's probably about accurate. If I could get even money, I'd take Hernandez, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just watch this as a fan. I really have learned to love Pereira as well, and I've always liked Hernandez. I've always been such a fan of him and his style. He's the type of wrestler who goes after it and, always looks for the finish and drowns dudes. And ever since he friggin' submitted Adolfo, I just love this kid. But let's recap my picks and then my bets. We got Anthony Hernandez by submission. We got Kyler Phillips decision, Charles Johnson decision, Brady Hiestand decision, Darren Elkins. I'm gonna take him by submission, but that could go all 3 paths, honestly. The pick will be Asu Almabayev. I'm really shaky on that one. But for now, I'm going to go Almabayev decision. I'm going to go Matsumoto decision, but, maybe he can find the choke. Maybe Katona can play spoiler. I'm iffy on both these 2 fights here. I think those are both live dogs. I'm going to go Jocelyn Edwards decision, Jessica Penne, Elise Reed decision, Elise Ardelean decision, and Rebellis Despaigne by knockout. As far as my bets, I have Ardelean plus 131 already locked in. I have Elkins plus 110 locked in. And I have the parlay CJ, Charles Johnson parlayed up with the over, or the fight goes the distance in the Reed fight, plus 109 for that parlay. And Brady Hiestand will be a definite play. I'm just waiting because that line's only going in my direction. So 4 bets for sure, more that I'm looking at. I'll be back later on in the week. I will be also live Thursday night for Wager Wars. Definitely tune in for that. And I'm going to drop a breakdown for PFL, the super fight card for the Francis Ngannou card. Contender Series is gone, but so I'm going to be doing more PFL, more Bellator, since I'm going to have some extra time on my hands. Let me know in the comments what promotions you want to see. Let me know if there's any other stuff you want me to do a new tier list. You want me to do some more fighter interviews. Let me know what y'all want to see, because that's what it's all about anyways. Appreciate you guys, all the love and support, especially on the Contender Series. You guys really showed out, and I'm glad I could make you guys money. 9-1 for the season, and I'm glad we finished strong. So like the video, click subscribe, turn those post notifications on. Don't miss Wager Wars. Don't miss the PFL breakdown. Don't miss the quick picks video later on in the week. I will catch you guys later. Until then,